that I guess, is that what happened? I mean, there's a lot that happened. I mean, you want to get into is this therapy? You want me to really go into it?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. There's been a little bit of Rick and Morty news recently. Adult Swim and Rick and Morty just fired Justin Roiland, one of the creators of the show, after it was revealed that he'd been arrested a few years ago for some really heinous stuff. That opened a bunch of floodgates, and a bunch of disturbing things that he'd been doing in his past also leaked out.
Oh my God, Rick, we're in real trouble today,
So in the wake of that, a lot of the shows that he's working on or created or involved in making either fired him or he's resigned of his own accord. Rick and Morty and Adult Swim in particular have issued a formal statement about how they plan to deal with this really unfortunate, really horrifying turn of events. Their formal statement just read, Adult Swim has ended its association with Justin Roiland, and that was basically it. They posted similar messages to the Adult Swim and Rick and Morty social accounts, but also added this extra bit about the future of Rick and Morty the show, saying Rick and Morty will continue, the talented and dedicated crew are hard at work on season 7. And The Hollywood Reporter confirmed with Adult Swim that their plan was to recast the roles of Rick and Morty like everybody that Justin Roiland voiced. Continue making the show till at least season 10, with Dan Harmon just being the sole creator working on the show. Justin Roiland would have no more association with making this show, so whatever extra stuff they found during their independent investigation of all this stuff that happened when the charges came to light was bad enough that they fired him on the spot rather than wait for the trial to actually happen. The show is a cash cow for Adult Swim, so they could be trying to save face and just fire him earlier just because being associated with him is so toxic to the show. They don't want to hurt the profits to the show because he hasn't been officially convicted of the charges yet. He's just been accused of them. He was arrested for them a couple years ago. But when this was all announced, a lot of people wondered if it was going to kill the show because Justin Roiland essentially is the show. He voices so many of the important characters, the main characters, and he does it on a couple different shows. Rick and Morty is just one of them. He also does the same thing on Solar Opposites, voicing a bunch of characters. He also has a video game studio called Squanch Games, named after his character Squanchy from Rick and Morty. They just released a new game, High on Life. So there are armies of just regular people working on the shows in various capacities and the games that he makes that depend on those for their living. Obviously, they're hoping that him going down isn't going to take that stuff down with him. Earlier today, Squanch Games separately also confirmed that Justin Roiland had recently quit the studio of his own accord, meaning that he wasn't fired by them, but he owned the studio effectively, like he started it with his own money. So there really wasn't like a board of directors that could get together and fire him if they wanted to. But they're not associated with Adult Swim. That's a completely separate venture that he started on his own. Just to explain what's going on, if you're confused about why he's in the middle of this giant scandal or what it was he did that he was accused of, it's actually a series of things he did going back years in a few separate events coming to a head at the same time, like the perfect storm of someone's terrible behaviors coming back to bite them in the ass all at the same time. The main thing that set all this off was him going to court recently. News outlets learned, one, that he was in court for something and that was really bad. And then once they did some digging, finding out what the charges were, they found out that a couple years ago in 2020, he was arrested for the false imprisonment and battery of his former girlfriend. She was the person that filed the charges that was named in the lawsuit, and the lawsuit was just going to actual trial now. Like, it took a couple years for it to actually go to trial, and that's why we're finding out about it. Wrongful imprisonment is basically defined as holding someone against their will, like trapping them in a house, as in the case was Justin Roiland. He trapped his former girlfriend in their house, either under the threat of a lie or actual physical violence. The battery charge is just them getting into an actual physical fight with someone. It sounds like what happened is that Justin Roiland tried to force his girlfriend to stay inside their home for some reason, or would not let her leave under threat of force, or just lied to her, and she was able to call the police to get out, and then they got into a fight. That's all we've really learned about the event from the court documents. We'll probably find out more during the actual trial when it happens later this year in October. Either way, it is not good. Like, there's no version of that scenario where he comes out looking good. What had happened the last couple years, though, is that he just tried to keep it quiet, so we're just finding out about it now because it went to actual trial. Like, news outlets found out about it from the actual court documents that had to be filed. The other even more disturbing thing that was revealed is that separately, texts of his that he'd sent to underage girls years ago leaked out, and it turns out as part of a pattern of behavior that he's had in the past. You may have seen some of the texts in your feeds. I can't put them in the video because they're that crazy. Like, YouTube would ban the video. That's how hardcore disgusting they are. During them, it actually sounds like he's trying to speak as the actual Morty character, like as if he were Morty in real life, speaking to these younger girls. That by itself would probably be enough to get him fired from all the shows that he's working on. There's been a lot of statements recently from people in the animation industry saying that he's been doing things like this, like his behavior has been this bad for years, and it's been kind of an open secret in Hollywood up to this point. And they've just been able to keep it quiet up to this point. He hasn't addressed the charges or anything that's happened the last couple of weeks since the news came to light. His lawyer has only said the media coverage of the case has been inaccurate. To be clear, not only is Justin innocent, but we also have every expectation that this matter is on course to be dismissed once the district attorney's office has completed its methodical review of the evidence. So they seem pretty confident that he's going to get off on all these charges and won't serve any actual jail time, because if he is convicted, he will serve some hard jail time. So we still don't know how much truth there is in any of these statements, but either way, it just sounds like a pattern of really terrible behavior, really toxic behavior. So the only path forward for all the stuff he's working on, all the different shows, the games, is to part ways with him. Even if he's exonerated, that doesn't mean he's going to go back and start working for all these people again. Those of you asking if this is going to kill the shows that he's working on, like will this kill Rick and Morty, because he's basically most of the characters on his own. There have been lots of examples in the past of shows recasting high-profile actors, particularly animated shows. I am sure Dan Harmon and Adult Swim are combing TikTok right now looking for Rick and Morty impersonators that can do Justin's voice. Part of the joke of Rick and Morty and his other shows is that most of his voices sound very similar. He even jokes about it himself. He can only do a couple of voices. This isn't really a joking matter, but if Adult Swim wanted to pull another stunt like April Fool's Day episode, they should replace him with Michael Cusack of Bush World Adventures and just never address it.
Morty! Oh, Rick. Get in the car, Morty! Get in the car!
Oh, Rick, I was asleep.
Oh, what's going on, Rick? What's happening? We're going on an adventure, Morty. Classic Rick and Morty bushland adventure. We're gonna go for a drive.
If you don't remember, Bush World Adventures was a short episode that they aired on Adult Swim on April 1st, 2018, 1 year after the original April Fool's Day prank. Personally, I think that Rick and Morty as a show will be fine. Dan Harmon has always been the actual, real writer in the room who turned Justin Roiland's initial bit into an actual show. Like, he made it into an actual show. When you hear them talk about the actual process of making the show, like them writing episodes, creating the show, a lot of it is Dan Harmon and the other writers making it like a regular show, like you would expect, and a lot of Justin Roiland coming up with random bits on the fly that they'd write into episodes. Really good example is the Nintendo rant from season 2.
You guys, we gotta hurry. I just got back from Walmart. They're selling Nintendo 3DS systems for $149.99 on sale. Plus, every time you buy one, you get a $50 gift card. Nintendo, give me free stuff. Okay, yes?
That scene was basically word for word something that Justin Roiland did in real life one day, running into the writer's room, yelling about how they had to buy a bunch of Nintendos to corner the market. Unironically, mind you. So as long as Rick and Morty can find a sound-alike impersonator that's good enough, there is functionally no change in how the show gets made or the way the show actually feels. They've lost nothing.
I always say I'm the guy with 3 or 4 voices. I probably could come up with more, but then it still would be recognizably me.
Dan Harmon's sheets aren't squeaky clean, like he's had his own share of scandals, but everything that he's been involved in the past is very minor in comparison and nowhere near as spicy as the stuff that Justin Roiland is accused of. And he apologized very publicly and profusely for his past behavior. Most of his misdeeds were him just being a low-level creep in writers' rooms. If you've seen the texts that Justin Roiland sent to these underage girls, they are disgusting. It's unbelievable that a human in his position would think they could get away with something like this, or just humans in general would try to do something like that. I'm almost hoping that some of those aren't true just because they're that bad. There's all kinds of other accusations about Justin Roiland flying around. I don't know how much of the other stuff is true. We only have confirmation on the stuff that's been released publicly. Personally, I haven't decided whether or not to continue making videos for Rick and Morty episodes. In the news release, they say they're working on season 7. Before all this, they would have probably released it during the summer. I don't know if they're going to delay it now because of the big trial that they're having. Right now, I'm just waiting till they start releasing trailers to actually make a decision about what to do with the future of my Rick and Morty videos. I've enjoyed covering the show like these last several seasons, and it sucks that one of the creators has acted so terribly, and it's going to take some time to process all of this. Like I said, he's got a trial coming for this in October. We'll see how that all plays out. Even if he's exonerated, like I said, he's not going to come back to the show or his other projects. It sounds like he has a lot of mental health issues to work through, so hopefully everyone involved with all of that gets all the help that they need. That's all I have to say about it now. I don't really have a bunch of other stuff to add to it unless something really major winds up happening in the case. Hopefully we don't find out about even crazier, even worse stuff. If you have any questions about what's going on, what he did, why this is all happening, just write them below in the comments and I'll try to address them all there. Thank you so much for watching, and don't worry, I will be back to more fun stuff in my next video.